Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Good Glory Man United podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Quinn, and joining me today is Brushy. How's it going, mate?
Not too bad, Carl. Not too bad.
So, not been a great deal of movement in the transfer market for Manchester United in the last week. I think we've been spoilt with how quickly the Kuna transfer was completed by United, and thought that with Mbeumo telling Brentford or that he wants to move to Manchester United, and United then entering in negotiations, we thought things are happening fast. But the Mbeumo deal is totally stalled. United have not made progress in their negotiations with Brentford, and Tottenham have now become involved because Thomas Frank has become the Tottenham manager. So, according to Darren Lewis of the Sunday Mirror, he says that Tottenham have now bidded 60 million plus 10 million in add-ons for Mbeumo, whereas United's second bid was 55 million plus 5 million add-ons. So United's total package is 60 million currently, and Tottenham's is 70 million, if we were to believe the Daily Mirror. So what we've heard from the media today is that Brian Mbeumo is still interested in coming to Manchester United. They're his number one priority, but he is intrigued by the offer from Tottenham. So United really need to get their skates on now, Brush.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those. I mean, obviously they've taken that little 1 week break as well, haven't they, in the transfer window? So I'm guessing, the papers and the journalists they need to create content and whatnot. So they're going to be hyping this more than they should, just because Thomas Frank has gone there. Obviously, we know Tottenham are cash rich, so it's a possibility that if this offer does go in, you know, um, for Brentford at least, it makes sense. But Mbeumo has said that he wants to come to us. Because if we're just looking at the footballing project by itself, I think we discussed it before. He should really have probably gone to Newcastle, but he's opted to join United. So if he's waiting on us, I think there's a possibility there that we can get the deal done. But what I won't like is if we get into a bidding war. I think we need to nip that in the bud. I think initially Brentford were trying to restructure the deal and get it a bit closer to what we paid for Cunha. For me, that would probably be about the max. He's obviously got a year left on his contract, and they've got a 1 year option as well, so two. But if he wants to come to us, then surely there's no need to get into a bidding war because that's what I really don't want, especially in this time where money is somewhat tight and we have to sell before we can buy. So, we can't just put all our eggs into this one basket.
Yeah, definitely not. And I'm hoping that the current United regime are not going to be like the old one, where they just pay whatever the selling club is
Yep.
asking for, and they pay well over the odds. Yeah,
Hmm.
I am expecting the regime of Barada and Wilcox, and fronted by Radcliffe, who are not supposedly going to be paying enormous transfer fees or enormous wages anymore unless it's an exceptional talent.
Yep.
I'm hoping that what they're going to do is, if you're going to rip us off, we're walking away and going to an alternative target, and that's
Hmm.
what United need to be doing. And of course, a person who's been mentioned as an alternative target is the guy, the number nine from Bournemouth, whose name escapes me now.
Evan Nelson?
No,
Oh, Semenyo.
Semenyo, yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's meant to be Plan B. Uh, but
Right.
and he would fit into that. I know he wears number nine, but he's not
Hmm.
actually a number nine for
Yeah,
Bournemouth.
because when you
Uh,
said nine, I was thinking of their striker.
yeah, he plays a similar role to Mbeumo.
Yeah.
So the only thing is Mbeumo has more impressive goal record, so that's why I would prefer to sign him.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, United need to nip that in the bud, as you say. If if Brentford are trying to drag us into a bidding war, then just walk away. You know,
Absolutely. Because even 60 million for me personally is a bit high. And it was only once I learned about the 1 year option that they had, I was like, oh, okay. Because honestly, if it was just 12 months left, I would have been like, listen, Brian, if you really want to come to us and they won't budge, then we'll see you next year, mate. You know, because that's how the big clubs operate. I mean, just look at Real Madrid, for instance. Over the last couple of years, they've been quite shrewd with their business. They've picked up smart free transfers and they've waited when bids weren't accepted. And that's the kind of thing we need to start doing. And we need to have plan Bs and Cs and whatnot. And also, sometimes if it doesn't pan out, you don't need to panic. I remember in January we were all losing our minds at the lack of arrivals coming in, even on loan. Mateus Tell, there was a fair few people that were annoyed that we missed out on him. Probably more so just because we were short on bodies and just needed to see someone. But 6 months down the line, excuse me, look at how that turned out. They paid an enormous fee to get him in on loan, and it hasn't really worked out, has it?
No, it
So
hasn't at all.
yeah, so it's important that we take our time. Even last season with Liverpool, that Zubimendi was who they wanted. They missed out. They didn't panic. They held on to the money, went on to achieve what they did, and now they're in there with the big boy bid for Florian Wirtz. So sometimes we need to learn to walk away. Uh, and I know patience is something that we're very short of after all the BS we've been through over the years. But we need to exercise that because the right player might come along later down the line.
Yeah, because we've already signed Cunha and we have plenty of number 10s. We don't necessarily have to sign Brian Mbeumo.
Exactly. If he doesn't come in this summer, like listen, Bruno and Cunha can be the two tens, and then you've got Mason Mount if he can stay injury free as cover. You've got Ahmad who can play there. So we're potentially Kobe Mainu as well, who's shown glimpses of what you can do further forward. So for me, it's not a necessity.
No, but we would like his goals. Now I mentioned that he had scored 20 Premier League goals on a previous podcast, but so just looking at the alternative, uh, Anton Semenyo from Bournemouth, and he has 13 goals last season, so not quite as impressive. But apparently, Amorim is a big fan of the player. And but one thing to note is that if we decide to walk away from Mbeumo and go after Semenyo, Bournemouth similarly are going to be looking for a pretty decent price for him.
Definitely, because I've heard some quotes, Carl, of about 65 million from what I've seen of Semenyo. Personally, for me, I think he's probably worth about 35. I do think he's a tidy player, but they really do get these fees out of thin air these days. And he's had one good season. At least with Mbeumo, there's a little bit of a body of work. I know 20 goals still is his best to date, and the prior two seasons he's had 9 goals each, but the GA has been in double figures, and he's been consistent.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, I won't be against signing him, but my preference would be Mbeumo between the two of them.
Yeah.
Um, so speaking of crazy transfer fees, silly season has definitely arrived. Because yesterday we were treated to the supposed news that Manchester United have made initial inquiries for Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt, and the price that they were quoted from Frankfurt is 100 million euros.
It's laughable. It's absolutely laughable. It's insane, isn't it?
Now,
Again, this kid's had one good season in the German league. Yes, he's a talent. He was scouted and signed by PSG. Didn't work out for him there. People describe him as like a younger Isak, but he's a long way off of what Isak is now. He's a project striker. The fee just doesn't make any kind of sense at all to me. I'm hoping it's a bit of a smokescreen whilst we continue to iron out things, maybe for Gyökeres or one or the other Victor.
yeah, I wouldn't even be in favor of spending 100 million euros on Gyökeres or Osimhen,
Yeah,
even
yeah,
though
same to be honest.
even though
Yeah,
Osimhen's basically a guarantee of goals or as close to that as you can
hmm
possibly get. And Gyökeres would probably get 20 Premier League goals at least as well.
yeah,
And I wouldn't want to spend that kind of money on them. So I
yeah.
certainly wouldn't want to spend it on a project striker who's
On a
had,
project striker,
yeah,
yeah, definitely. Especially when so many areas need addressing in our squad. Like, because that's something that I'd like to discuss as well a bit later on. Because I understand that they're working on one thing at a time, and it looks like we're trying to transform the front line, but there's so many other holes. Um, so if that's all we do, I'm also concerned because we could quite easily part with the best part of what, like 200 million on a new front three, but that still leaves, the need for a wing back, need for a new goalkeeper, probably another centre back, and then you got to sort out the mess in midfield.
Yeah. Yeah. So Hugo Ekitike has he got 22 goals for Frankfurt last season, 15 in the league, and that is by far his best season to date.
Yeah.
Um, the seasons previous to that, he got 4 goals.
Hmm.
Um, and the only other time that he has topped the 4 goals in a season is at Rem in France in Liga in the 21-22 season. He got 11 goals. So
It's got Hoyland Part 2 written all over this.
yeah, he scored against Tottenham, didn't he, in the Europa League? I think in the first leg.
Yeah,
So yeah, he does seem like he's young and he's talented, and he seems to be
yeah.
getting better over time. But
Listen, if it was like a Man City, they can afford to take that risk. In our position right now, we can't.
yeah, as we've already signed Hoyland, which hasn't worked out,
Yeah.
um, and we brought in Xerxes, who turned out to be a 9.5 and not a
Hmm.
striker. So
Yeah.
that has been our number nine signings in the last two summer windows. We can now, in this third summer window where we're going after a striker, we cannot sign another young project striker. We just can't.
No, no,
And
can't do it. Especially if Hoyland doesn't go anywhere.
yeah, we need to be signing experience now. Now, the signings
Hmm.
of Kuna and the potential signing of Mbumu, those are players entering their prime who are ready made, ready to hit the ground running for United, and that's what we need right now.
Yeah.
Hugo
And those are
Ekitike is
guys
not,
that have been in the league a couple of years as well. And, the proof is there of what they can do. So that would be
yeah,
the advantage.
and Hugo Ekitike is just not the guy for the here and now who's going
No.
to guarantee us goals.
Yeah, ideally, that's the kind of striker you want to bring in as the backup. But again, with the price is ridiculous as well. Like maybe if it was 35 to 40, you could look at it twice. But for what they want, no.
Yeah, at 40 million euros, I would consider it, but 100, nah.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Um,
doesn't make sense. Because then you're just setting that kid up for failure when he arrives, because people are going to expect 100 million euros worth of performances, and it's not going to happen, and they're going to get impatient.
yeah, you know what? Very few of these crazy 100 million plus signings ever work out. Uh,
Yeah, if you actually bring up the list of like the record signings, Carl, I was going through the top 10 the other day, and honestly, about six or seven of them are failures. There's very few record-breaking transfers that really work.
yeah, and Liverpool are signing Florian Wirtz, and their fans are very excited about it. But what I say to a Liverpool fan who works with me is that you do realize that very few of these 100 million plus signings ever work out. So
Yeah, and all they
beware.
do, Kyle, is if they have success, then they paper over the cracks in it. Like with Jack Grealish, if we just objectively look at that transfer, he hasn't justified the 100 million. But obviously they'll cover that up with the fact that he won a treble. You know?
Yeah. And he is now being dumped by Pep Guardiola, who's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Apparently they want 40 million for him. Who in their right mind is going to pay 40 million for this version of Jack Grealish? I don't know.
yeah,
He probably has to go out on loan to rebuild his career.
I'm guessing that Pep has had enough of his party and antics.
Hmm.
Knew knew the cup final in which we beat City um after they did the four in a row, and they apparently partied all week, and they thought they just had to turn up to beat us, and we played them off the
Yeah.
pitch. He was left out of that entirely,
Hmm.
I think. He was not even named in the squad that day from memory.
Yeah,
So
honestly, since that treble season, it's all been downhill for him. And yeah, it's it's the reputation as well, the party animal antics and all of that. He's got priors as well. So yeah, I don't know if football is his main focus. It's a shame because he's very talented.
Yeah, and yeah, he's a good example of £100 million player who didn't work out. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
we had
completely wasted.
like I think Pogba was €100 million.
Hmm.
Anthony, of course, these didn't
Hmm.
work out. Um, there's been many of them. I mean,
And
wasn't
don't get me wrong, Florian Wirtz is very, very talented, but they're paying double what he's worth.
do you know what it is? Do you see when you buy someone at that price, the pressure on
Mm.
them is enormous.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
huge. I think the one thing though for Liverpool that it's a statement signing, isn't it? Because they're not usually known for doing these kind of things too often. So bit of new territory for them. Like even when they, broke the record and signed Allison and Van Dijk, they always say, "Oh, but it was offset by the Coutinho sale." So this might be the first time in a long time they've actually just ventured out and made a statement signing. But yeah, like you say, the pressure is going to be enormous. And I, for one, uh, I'm going to be keeping an eye on what Graham Souness has to say every other week when he fails to score or assist.
yeah, you're going to see a lot of that.
Yeah, yeah, because the amount of criticism he had for Pogba. I remember when he got 4 assists against Leeds on opening day, and Souness said, "Yeah, that's what you expect for 90 million."
You,
So it'll be interesting to see if he keeps the same energy for Verts, who's going to come in at what 126.
yeah, it's a crazy, crazy fee, and
Yeah.
that's enormous pressure on the guy to deliver, and
Hmm.
it could be too big for him. Um, it just says something that even at a team as successful as Man City, that even their £100 million player didn't work out. So that's saying
Yeah.
something. Uh, so I want to come on to Victor Gyökeres, the soap opera that is. Um, Sporting have not received an offer for striker Victor Gyökeres, and there is no gentleman's agreement for him to leave for £59 million, says club president Federico Fernandez. So this is an article by the by BBC Sport, and Sweden international Gyökeres, 27, has been heavily linked with a move to Manchester United and Arsenal. He has a €100 million release clause in his contract. It has been widely reported after staying at Sporting last summer that Gyökeres and Sporting agreed that he could leave for €70 million. That's £59 million this summer. However, the president said that the club's only promise to Gyökeres was that they would not demand his full release clause. So here, open quote, I can guarantee that Victor Gyökeres will not leave for €60 million plus €10 million because I never promised that. To this day, Sporting has not had an offer for Gyökeres, neither today nor last season. End quote. Gyökeres spent 3 seasons with Coventry, as we know, had a good goal record there in the Championship. Man City director of football Hugo Viana, who was the sporting director up until recently, um, when Gyökeres' agent sought assurances about leaving if a suitable offer arrived, this is what he said. One of the agent's biggest concerns was whether, no, this is actually a quote from the president again. One of the agent's biggest concerns was that whether we would demand the termination clause. He wanted to guarantee certain things on what was agreed. The Sporting would not demand a release clause now. For one, for one reason, he was going to be 27 years old, and no player leaves Portugal 27 for €100 million or €90 million. In that same meeting with the agent, in the same meeting, the agent wanted to anchor the exit to a value. I said the sentence, it's not worth us getting a value because I don't know what will happen in a year's time. I don't know if it will be €40 million, 16 million or 80. What I can guarantee is that I will not demand €100 million. So not sure why they mentioned the City director of football there. So Manchester City director,
Oh, so basically, when they had this talk, the president and the agent, Hugo Viana last summer was the sporting director at Sporting. So he was part of those talks in which this was discussed. Where the only thing really according to the president, was agreed, is that he won't demand 100 million euros. Now the agent's been out here saying on the contrary. So this is why it's turned into a soap opera.
Yeah, there seems to be a breakdown in communication somewhere, or else
Yeah.
somebody's lying and telling
Yeah,
lies.
yeah, and obviously, this is why it's important as well to get these things in writing. Gentlemen's agreements, like we found out with the Harry Kane saga, doesn't really mean anything.
Gentleman's agreement means absolutely fuck all. Let's be honest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, the Man City now director of football was at Sporting last season, so he was probably part of the meeting that took place with the
Yeah.
player's agent. Um, so that's why they mentioned him there. But all the quotes that
Yeah,
I
that's
gave,
exactly what happened. So Victor Gyökeres himself was not part of any of this. So
so,
he's now put out a little cryptic message this week, and we don't really know what to make of that. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out.
yeah,
What did he say in that message, Carl?
I think he said that he can't speak now, but he will update
Yeah,
the fans in the future whenever
right.
he can speak. Um, but he said that the reports are false,
Hmm.
whatever that means.
Yeah.
Um, s- so they all seem to have got their wires crossed, and
Yeah,
both.
that's the thing. It's just a hot mess, isn't it? And then this is the thing I don't like about modern day football. Like even Gyökeres putting a little cryptic message out. Back in the day, that wouldn't have happened, and we wouldn't have heard about it, and nobody would have speculated any further until something concrete happened. You know, everything just feeds into the machine these days, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think social media is now added to the transfer window circus.
Yeah.
I'm afraid there's this constant need for instant news all the time, and
Yeah. And there's no winning because, on the one hand, we keep saying, I want the club to get business done, quietly and quickly and just announce it. And then on the other hand, people are clicking away every day looking for any inkling of news or rumors, any leaks.
yeah, United went from a week ago. United seemed like a club who was getting their business done early, and the fans were very happy about that. A week on, and now United fans are getting impatient again.
We do have to remember as well that technically speaking, the window is closed this week. I mean, that's a farce in itself, but it is. So, it doesn't mean that deals aren't being worked on. It just means that, expect any announcements to happen next week. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they're still working away behind the scenes on the Mbomo thing right now as we speak. It's just that it wouldn't be announced till next week anyway.
Yeah, well, this opening and shutting the window means nothing because clubs always did business in late May and throughout the month of June anyway, whenever the window was not open till July the 1st.
Yeah, it's nonsense, really, isn't it? It's to accommodate the Club World Cup, which is now trying to make a thing. I've heard that they're struggling to sell tickets and stuff as well. But money over everything these days, isn't it?
Yeah, the window was open for a short period between the 1st and 10th of June so that teams competing in the Club World Cup could sign players that could then play in that tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, because normally players aren't registered till July the 1st, and obviously that would be
Hmm.
too late to play in the Club World Cup, or at least they'd be halfway through the tournament at that stage. So that's why there was a 10-day window there. But yeah, deals will be negotiated anyway, whether the window's open or
Exactly.
not, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
Um
Yeah. The only thing it means is that the actual official announcement will come, after the window reopens.
yeah, but I have seen in the past United doing deals in June,
Mm.
and they would put out a statement saying he will officially sign on July the 1st, but
Yeah.
we have agreed a deal with such and such a
Hmm.
club for this player. Um yeah, but we did get the official announcement of Mateus Cunha yesterday, and we knew like a couple of Sundays ago, it was announced, I think it was June the 1st, it was announced that the United had activated his release clause, but it was not going to be officially done until the Brazil internationals were finished. And so those are now done, and he's came back to Manchester, and they've done the photo ops. He's got his visa's been approved and all the rest, and he's done his interview with MUTV. So he looks well in his new attire and the brand new. It just happened to coincide with United bringing out the new. shirt for next season, and he's obviously perfect to have a new sign and model it for them. He
Hmm.
arrived to Old Trafford in an Ineos Grenadier and one of their 4x4s. It was a red one, which I'd never seen before. That's now the company car. You remember it used to be Chevrolet because that was
Yeah, yeah.
the shirt sponsor, but now they're unsurprisingly promoting the Ineos's car. Um,
Apparently, this is one that was designed by Sir Jim himself because he wasn't happy with the regular defenders, so he decided to make his own.
Yeah, that's it'd be interesting to see how that works out. Hopefully, he's not as hands-on as that at United, but I suspect he probably is. Um, so Kuna's here. He's done his MUTV interview. He's posed with the shirt. He's posed with the Jason Wilcox. He's signed the contract in front of the cameras. So uh, I'll have to check out his. I think I don't have MUTV if I'm being honest, and I don't subscribe to that because it's just a propaganda channel, really. And when
Pretty much.
United are shite, they're not going to tell you that. They're just going to try
Yeah.
and put some lipstick on a pig. So to be honest,
That's what I found with the United podcast as well, the official one, because they softball certain questions when they have guests on.
yeah, definitely. Um, so I will wait until they publish the interview on YouTube before I can see it in full. But he looks like he speaks really good English, and he's very excited to be at United. Whenever he was asked about players in the past that he was inspired by. And he said that when he was growing up, he remembers, he says Ronaldo is an obvious one. He mentioned
Mm.
Rooney. He said his game is a lot like Rooney's. And he has the tenacity of Wayne Rooney. He presses like Rooney does. And he mentioned,
He tracks
and
back as well.
yeah, he mentioned Ferdinand Vidic and Ryan Giggs as well. So I suppose in the 2000s and in the early 2010s, when the final years of Fergie's success, Kuna would have been very young kid at that point and probably would have been grew up watching that team. Like the team that won the Champions League in Moscow.
He would have
Uh
been what, like 8?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
God, that
Yes.
makes me feel old.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just turned 26. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So the players from that generation would have been his heroes then, and
Hmm.
this was his dream to play for Man United. As we know, he had offers from Champions League clubs, but this was where he wanted to play his football and emulate the legends of the past. So hopefully
Yeah.
he can do that, and
Yeah. And of
hopefully,
course, we were linked to him as well before Wolves got him. So maybe, it was a thing that he felt that he needed to fulfill.
yeah, I have to say when that previous link came uh, when he was at Atletico Madrid, I looked at his goal record and I was not impressed, and
Yeah,
I
yeah, it
thought.
was proper shoddy, wasn't it? Yeah. I wasn't, yeah, at that time I looked at it and I was like, well, this isn't the guy that needs to come in because we need goals.
And now that he's done it in the Premier League, I'm more excited about it.
Yeah,
He's
yeah. But even with me, I'm sort of curtailing my expectations by way of goal contributions. But I just hope that like he fits the system better, obviously, and as a team, goals will be spread out and it will help improve us as a whole.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I would love to see him alongside Mbeumo in those two number 10s positions,
Mhm.
but I would obviously like to see us sign an out-and-out goal scorer up front as well. But feeling that, um, I seen a journalist, Peter Hall, mention the possibility of Joshua Zirkzee playing the Firmino role alongside Mbeumo and Kuna. And you had mentioned this last week that that could work really well. He could really feed off
Yeah.
those two players and they could feed off him and he could play
Yeah,
that
because
sort of.
he naturally likes to drop back anyway, and he's a physical presence, isn't he? So he's quite good at the hold up play and bit of dribbling and whatnot, and he can lay it off to the other two, and they've got pace for days.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that, working really well. Um,
Hmm.
if he drops off and plays them in behind, that is going to be
Yeah,
a real tool for United, and Xerxes would probably get more goals himself by playing with these two as well. And
Hopefully,
mm,
hopefully, because that's definitely an area of his game he needs to improve. But if he can get those numbers up slightly, I don't think it'll be a bad addition at all. My real concern really is the midfield because I just think the balance is all off. I don't see how they're going to accommodate Bruno in any kind of two-man midfield if he plays deeper. Like when he does it for Portugal, there's usually three to compensate. So that'll be an interesting one. But that's also the area I think we're least likely to invest in this summer.
in order for Bruno to play in a deeper role,
Yeah.
his partner needs to be Ugarte, who's actually good on the ball.
You
Um,
need an N'Golo Kante. We need to find a regen of Kante to play next to Bruno, and then it would work. Because that guy he's got three lungs. He would cover every blade of grass. With Ugarte, we know what he's good at. He's a destroyer, but he's limited. And if you play Ugarte, then you need an elite ball progressor like a Frankie De Jong or a Barella at Inter or someone like that to come in. So it's a bit of a mismatch in the middle of the park. And you already discussed it before. With no Europe, Casemiro's use has waned even further. But obviously, because of the wages, there's no links to either. So we're probably going to just have to eat those wages up for the next year. Um, and then that leaves Collier and Cobby, and that's going to be the interesting one. It'll be very interesting to see what we can get out of those two.
yeah, I think as I've discussed, as I've discussed before, I think Collier would be a good partner for Bruno and Manu in midfield.
Hmm.
But the only issue with Collier at the minute is that he hasn't played that many games for United. We haven't
Yeah,
we haven't seen a large sample size of what he can do. Now, what we have
yeah.
seen of him so far is really good
Hmm.
for that number six role, but we haven't seen a large sample size, and
Yeah.
before we can say he could be an established number six for United.
That's the thing. And also the other thing that concerns me, obviously, we've seen a certain level of stubbornness from Amarim. If he were to alter it slightly and go three in the middle of the park and two up front or something like that, then it could be a game changer. And I failed to mention Mason Mount there as well. I think he would just take up Christian Eriksen's minutes, and he would just be a rotational option for the middle of the park and as an extra 10.
Yeah, although the manager has declared his love for Mason Mount on more than one
Mm.
occasion.
Hmm.
Those are very strong words to use. He's
Yeah, to be honest, on paper he's a player that suits him very well, but the poor guy, he's just made of biscuits. We just have to hope that he can go a season injury free.
uh, well, I tell you what, he's had his longest spell yet without an injury, so here's hoping.
Yeah, yeah, long may it continue. If he can get a full season under his belt, then we might get some sort of return out of him. Because I do think there's a player there.
Yeah, but even if he's fully fit all the time, Mason Mount, I don't
Yeah.
think he gets into our strongest 11.
No, no. Especially with these new potential incomings, because they're all in the bloody 10 position where he excels at. So.
Yeah.
So that's what
So,
I mean. I just kind of see him taking up the Ericsson minutes.
you know, yeah, hopefully Collier develops into the player that we need him to be.
Yeah.
Uh, we're kind of relying on that unless we sign
And this will
someone in
be a
this
good
window.
test as well, actually, because this is what separates the good managers from the elite ones. Because you need to be able to make adjustments and get the best out of what you've got. Like we've seen what happened last season at Liverpool, where they didn't really have a proper DM. Endo wasn't the guy, and they adapted. And look what they managed to get out of Ryan Gravenberch, even though he's
Yeah.
naturally a DM, but they managed to get a certain level out of him. And we need to start seeing that as well from the coaching department.
Yeah, I tell you what, if you remember when Manu first came into the United team,
Hmm.
obviously his first start in the Premier League was in that match at Goodison where Garnacho scored the overhead kick.
Yeah,
M Manu played as a six in that game
yeah.
and in games after that. That's where Ten Hag decided to use him in the beginning.
Hmm.
But the problem, if we went back to that, it just wouldn't work as a two with Bruno.
No, it wouldn't. That's the thing. And this is why I come back to the point that ideally, reluctantly, I would have taken the deal with Saudi.
Uh, Casemiro, now we have no European football, as you said, is no
He's
use for us
utterly
now.
useless, isn't it? Like I don't know what you do with Cass. Uh, Emergency centre back maybe if we don't get another one in, because
Yeah,
that's another thing as well. People have, I don't know. I think people have put in way too much pressure and confidence in young Heaven. I see potential in him, but obviously the experience of Lindy and Evans leaving, I don't feel comfortable not having another centre back come in, especially because you can't rely on Luke Shaw and Lissandro Martinez. For the 3 consecutive years he's been here, he's not completed a full season. So it
y-
would be wise to get somebody.
so logic dictates that he won't complete a full season
Yeah, it might
again.
not. I mean, the last one, I guess it wasn't his fault really, but it happens. And again, if you're getting injured 3 seasons in a row and you can't complete a full season, then that it becomes an issue. So yeah, I now see him as a rotational option.
Yeah, but he makes such a difference
Yeah.
because he can play those line-breaking passes
hmm
like he did for Ahmad's winner against Manchester City.
Yeah. This is one of the reasons that I
He's
was
like a
really interested in Dean Huyson. Kid's got
yeah,
very good feet and his passing ability and all of that. But hey ho, Real Madrid. So
yeah,
can't really argue with that, can you?
and yeah, Martinez is almost like a quarterback at times when he
Yeah.
steps out of defense and plays one of
hmm
those diagonal balls and splits the lines. And yeah, we missed that as well as his defending. And but like you say, if he is becoming unreliable. So
Yeah.
then he just becomes does he become an automatic selection when he is available? That'd be interesting to see if how it goes. But
If he's at his best, then absolutely. But he's got to work his way into the team. Nothing's given. At the moment, for me, the starting three are going to be what Euro, Maguire, and Delit.
yeah, we will definitely need to sign a centre back next summer because Maguire will probably be probably leave at that
Yeah,
point.
he'll be leaving, and it wouldn't make sense to give him an extension unless he were to reduce his wage demands.
Yeah, he'll be 33 next summer as well.
Yeah, that too. And even with all the praise and stuff, like he's at an age now where it's all starting to decline. So even despite his best efforts and professionalism, there's only one way that's going. Um, so yeah, we need to look ahead. But yeah, we need to bridge that gap though, because Heaven, I think, is very young and very raw. And I say that, but Euros young too. But I think we can all see that he's at a different level, isn't he?
Yes. Um, it would be nice to bring someone in, but that might
Mm.
because of the we've got Heaven in January
Yeah.
and he's already become part of the first team squad
hmm
and got minutes. Uh, we might just see it out until next summer before bringing in a centre back
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that happening because
because of this.
Mazraoui can cover at right centre back. Um, Shaw and Martinez on paper are there. Yeah, so that you could sort of make do a wing back as well. I would really like somebody of first team quality because for me, all of the wing back options we have, like I mentioned before, are all rotation options. There's
Yeah,
none that really fill me with confidence.
it looks increasingly likely that Ahmad would be the right wing back, and
Yeah, and
one of the young
Dorgu on the left.
Joe on the left probably,
Yeah,
but hopefully Diego Leon turns out to be better than him and he plays. But
yeah. But again, that's this very young kid. I know he's looks really built and stuff, but from South America to Manny, surely it would take him a bit of time. Harry Amas as well. In an ideal world, I'd like to loan him out. Um, so yeah, it's an interesting one.
yeah, it'd be interesting to
And then
see
you
what.
have Dalot, who is perennially just rotation fodder as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, if we were offered decent money for him, I would sell.
Yeah. hmm
Yeah, I would use him to kind of bring in more cash because he
Yeah.
does not get into my starting 11.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And the forgotten man Malacia, we'll have to see if he's done enough to earn a permanent move. He managed to pick up a league title medal with PSV.
but still not enough for them to sign him, you know.
Yeah, but not enough for them to sign him. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens there as well.
Um, yeah, it's strange that uh, in a system where the manager plays wingbacks,
Hmm.
we could conceivably go the whole
Yeah,
window without signing one.
definitely. And that's what annoys me, especially because in this system, it's so important. And that's what irked me earlier in the window. I know we're not even properly into the window, but this is why I was annoyed at the likes of Kirkes and Outnori and Frimpong moving to rivals. And then obviously back in January, there was those links to Nuno Mendes with the Sporting Lisbon links and him being Portuguese and that. But I think that ship has well and truly sailed. He's excelled second half of the season, and he's probably one of the top wing backs in the world now. So
And the thing is, he's not even playing as a wing back. He's playing as a left
yeah,
back,
yeah,
but
yeah. That's the thing. Yeah,
he affects games so much
yeah,
in
yeah.
the attacking third. You could easily see him being a left wing back for United
Hmm.
if we were good enough to sign him. You know, we're not
Yeah,
a team that's finished 15th in the Premier League is not going to sign the best left back in the world. It is,
exactly. Yeah,
especially as he's playing for the current European champions.
and
Um,
current European champions playing the best football of his life, and his value skyrocketed. It
yeah,
doesn't make sense.
I watched him against Spain in the
Mm,
Nations League final, and he was exceptional.
yeah.
Not only did he mark Yamal out of the game, he then
Mm,
scored himself at the other end with an absolute bullet of a shot. Uh,
yeah, yeah,
so he's a phenomenal player
mm,
who of course has worked with Amrim himself in the past.
yeah.
But
I'll tell
that
you another one that's somewhat interesting to me. Theo Hernandez, because he's going into the last year of his contract at AC Milan, and he's turned down Saudi, but I think they're looking to sell because they want something for him. And I'm hearing reasonable quotes of between 20 to 30 million euros, which for a player in his prime is not bad at all. Prime in terms of age. Last season was a bit hit and miss for him, but he's 27, and we've seen him at his best, and he can definitely do a job. He's better than anything we have.
what I'm thinking is that United have invested so much in young players on that left hand
Yeah.
side. I don't see a situation where they're going to block their pathway into the first team.
Hmm. Yeah, they won't get in somebody and make the youngster a understudy. But then we need some kind of experience though, because Dorgu again, we're kind of dropping in him at the deep end.
Yeah. No, I really hope he is not the one who's first choice next season on that side.
Yeah.
He does
I
not
don't want to
excite
see
me.
Dallo there either, especially on the left.
No, definitely not. Definitely don't want right footer out there on the left
Yeah,
hand
yeah.
side. Dorgu does not excite me whatsoever, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, same. It's one of those like even when we were looking at the shortlist, like he wasn't one that popped up on anyone's radar. He wasn't in any top fives, you know.
Mm.
And then
Oh,
obviously the goalkeeper issue as well. Yeah.
I'm really annoyed that we're playing this system, because
Hmm.
I would love to sign someone like Rafael Leao, but he would never fit
Yes.
into this system.
He wouldn't fit into this. And now that we got Cunha, that's, it's out of the question, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, see when he came off the bench against Spain, he was wonderful to watch. He's so direct and skillful and speedy and just goes at people, makes things happen. And yeah, he's the type of player that gets bums off seats.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, hard to believe that he's still at AC Milan. Now I know AC Milan historically are a massive club, but
Yeah.
they don't. They finished way down the table in Serie A this
Yeah.
season,
Yeah. They were ninth in the league. So
and
by their standards, it's not good enough.
they don't have the cash to compete with Premier League or Real
No.
Madrid or PSG. So I'm surprised that he has stayed there this long.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's one hell of a player too. That Portugal team is capable of going all the way in the World Cup, I would say.
I hope they do. What a story that would be for Ronnie to cap it all off with a World Cup.
Yeah, and still scoring goals at 40.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Despite all the criticism, like you can't say anything now. Look at the opposition he's scoring against. You still have to be in the right place at the right time and do all the basic things right. And you can see what it means to him as well. He takes every competition so seriously. Like even in Saudi, you see those little clips of him just, frustrated when things don't go right.
I would say Messi winning that World Cup, give him that fuel to keep going for another 4 years, you know.
Definitely, definitely. Like he'll definitely be eyeing that World Cup next year.
Yeah, because the Portugal team around him seems to get
Hmm.
better year on year, and
Yep.
so on paper anyway, and so they are certainly capable of winning that World Cup if they're capable of getting over the line against Spain in another competition. There's no reason why.
Definitely. And you've seen the emergence as well. Some of their young talents in midfield, like Vitinha, who have just gone to new levels this season.
Yeah, or,
Jao
or
Neves, that's a player we looked at last year. What a talent he is.
Coutinho used to be at Wolves, another one of those.
Yeah, yeah. It was quite underwhelming in his spell at Wolves, but yeah, I don't know what's happened to him, but yeah, amazing turnaround.
Yeah, um, a lot of Portuguese players in that PSG squad,
Hmm.
and they are exceptional talents. And yeah, it would be nice to see uh, Portugal finally win the World Cup. I don't think they have achieved that in the past. So yeah, they've come close on a couple of occasions, but yeah, I'd like to see them do it. Um, but obviously you would prefer England to win it, but uh,
I mean, yeah, of course. In an ideal world, it would be great if England won, but I wouldn't begrudge Ronaldo in Portugal if
but
England get knocked
I
out.
tell you what, the Tuchel era is not off to a good start.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. The football was not nice on the eye, but it wasn't under Southgate either, to be fair.
and why is he starting players like Henderson and Kyle Walker? These are
Yeah,
not players
who
of the
surely
future.
are not going to be there anyway, come tournament time.
Yeah, I mean Henderson's probably going to be 36 when the World Cup rolls around, and
Yeah, yeah,
Walker's 35 or something.
yeah, yeah. It doesn't make sense, and especially we've got young fullbacks coming in as well. The Newcastle boys, for instance, the likes of Livramento and Lewis Hall. I think they're pretty nifty. Obviously, Lewis Skelly coming up at Arsenal is a good option as well at left back. And then the midfielders, it's going to be the guys like Adam Wharton that I'm going to keep an eye on.
Yeah, he really needs to be playing Morton alongside Rice in there, I think,
Yeah,
rather than he, Henderson. I can't believe he was brought back. I mean, in the last few seasons, he's been in Saudi, he's been at Ajax, and you know, he's a player long past the peak. I mean,
definitely.
I didn't really rate him when he was in his prime playing for England. I didn't like him as. Yeah,
So I always thought it was down to the system. With Klopp, even at Liverpool, like he wasn't a player that I never really rated that highly.
yeah, I never got the fuss about him at all, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. They always talk about how he's a great captain and all of that stuff. But actual footballing ability wise, I don't know.
Yeah,
Not my cup of tea.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Another young midfielder though that I do like the look of though is Elliot Anderson at Nottingham Forest.
yeah, interestingly enough, as you mentioned, Forest there, um, apparently Newcastle are again interested in signing Alanga, and that
Oh wow!
would that would give us a nice wee windfall if that was to happen because
Oh,
there's a
we've got a
selling
sell-on
clause.
clause, huh?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, that would be an interesting one.
we've a selling clause obviously for Alvaro Fernandez and Greenwood as well, so there's
Yep.
opportunities there for United to every 5 million is goes towards our budget, so we need all we can get. Every little helps. Uh,
It really does. We should get a sponsorship deal with Tesco next.
yeah, apparently the sponsorship deal with Marriott Hotels is over, so a space has opened up for
Okay.
someone.
Ah, geez, it's probably going to be Premier Inn the way we're headed.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Marriott days are long gone. Ah,
Apparently, anytime United went on a pre-season tour, they would stay at a Marriott hotel, probably
wow.
just to save money.
Yeah, yeah,
They
probably,
they did so
probably.
in Malaysia as well. There was a bit.
Yeah. Oh, that open top bus. Oh, I still can't get over it. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Well, Delict says he doesn't regret it, so
Ah,
he's sticking to his guns.
okay.
Um, s- so where are we? I'm gonna get a bit lost now. We've gone off on a few tangents there. Um, it doesn't look like a team who's going to play wing backs next season is not going to sign one in this window. That is
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it's insane to me. It's actually insane to me.
So
So there's a lot of concerns. A lot of concerns.
I noticed when the new kit came out yesterday, they obviously
Hmm.
brought out the new goalkeeper kit, and
Yeah.
United inexplicably were putting out photos of Onana in the new shirt, and we knew what was coming. You
Yeah.
look, every single comment underneath was like, "Yeah, that would look great on a different goalkeeper."
And I'll tell you what, when I saw the home kit, I was like, this looks very much like last season's. You guys have just turned the white stripes black.
Yeah, and if you remember the season before, the kit had
Yeah.
black stripes, so they basically just mixed the last two
Yeah.
seasons'
Yeah. Like, and
shirts.
you're marking it up at like 110 quid. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, 85 for the regular shirt and
Yeah.
120 for
For
the
the
authentic one.
authentic one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Insane, isn't it? You might as well just wait till the end of the season and just buy it when it's all on clearance. For the price of one shirt, you can pick up all three: home, away, and third.
Yeah, I was waiting for them to drop the price of the black goalkeeper shirt, which is really
Yeah.
nice from last season, but they haven't
Yeah,
dropped
that
it
one.
yet.
They haven't
I,
yet. They
yeah.
haven't. Yeah, that one's actually really nice. It's just a shame Onana's the keeper, isn't it?
Oh, I think
Like
everybody,
honestly, when I saw that kit, I was like, oh, why did they make this the away kit? This is really nice.
I don't know, they weren't even selling it until about
Hmm.
January when they realized how popular it was.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, so that's why they were looking to drop the price so soon because they still think
hmm,
they only brought it out really in the mega store in the second half of the season.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's strange that the best looking shirt of last season was a third goalkeeper shirt
Goalkeeper shirt.
that
Yeah.
he wore like once,
Hmm.
and funny enough, it was in the game where Kuna scored directly from a corner against him. Um,
In the week where we conceded the same goal twice,
that's
because
right.
Son did that earlier in the week
That's
with our number two, Bayern Deer. Yeah,
yeah. And I remember saying at the time on the show, probably to you, that
yeah,
United are the only team that could concede from a corner twice in a week.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I saw what Bayern Deer did and said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah,
At
yeah,
least you got obstructed. I didn't even need that. Just straight in.
yeah.
Uh,
But seeing the highlights of Kuna's goals is
yeah.
just making me purr.
I'll
Um,
tell you what. You remember Onana's debut, right? When Cunha tore through our midfield.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
hoping he could put in one or two of those performances for us.
yeah. Certainly hope so.
Yeah, because he
He,
terrorized us that day.
he's Kuna actually scored a brilliant goal at Anfield last season as well,
Hmm.
which I like to see, for obvious reasons, but not just the obvious, but because you don't want to just see him scoring against Fulham and Brentford and
Yeah,
Ipswich.
definitely. You want to see that he's got the capabilities against the top six as well in it. So yeah, I
Yeah.
get it. I get it.
Uh,
He needs to be able to mix it.
a few seasons ago, he actually got a hat trick at Stamford Bridge, Kuna. So there's something else to be excited about.
Hmm.
I'd love to see him do that in a United shirt.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Listen, where standards are on the floor at the moment, I just want back-to-back wins.
mm,
I just want a positive goal difference.
yeah, hopefully we can achieve that in August. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
the fixtures will be coming out next Wednesday, I believe, as
yeah.
well.
Hmm.
So there's something
There
to.
was one guy that was going viral a couple of months back because he said he's not going to cut his hair until United win 5 games consecutively.
Must have like Santa Claus by now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's got like a massive afro now. So like he did like a little countdown video thing over time from when he started the challenge, and he had like a buzz cut.
Did he do the beard as well, or is it just the
I
head?
think it was just the hair. It was just the
All
hair.
right.
If it was the beard as well, yeah, he would have looked like Dumbledore by now.
Yeah. Yeah, he probably looks like Afro Man now. I would say
Yeah,
probably even
yeah,
more.
yeah. He's gonna have to braid it or something because yeah, don't know if he's gonna be able to cut that anytime soon.
Hopefully for in August. Yeah, been
Hopefully,
it'd be nice if
that would be the dream.
the second game of the season we're able to achieve that.
Yeah,
But I suppose that will
yeah,
depend somewhat on who we get in August. You know, if we're gonna
yeah. That as well. I'm hoping that the major targets come in time for the preseason tour because we don't do a good job of managing that usually.
no, so we're focusing heavily on the attack, and yeah,
Mm,
I can understand that because of the lack of goals, the minus goal difference, and
yeah,
all the rest. But we need to sign a goalkeeper, and then sign a midfielder if we can, if we got the budget
yeah.
left for it, and probably next year we might look at the wing back
Mm.
situation.
Yeah,
Uh,
but this is my concern though. Everything looks very top heavy at the moment. And it's not like we're getting cheap deals done, you know. We're going to part with the best part of 200 million on a new front line.
yeah, but if they start firing,
Yeah,
and
yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? If they take to it, then nobody's going to talk about the price. But if they struggle, then that's going to become a major talking point. And then obviously my other concern as well this window is the departures. I just think there's one or two that are going to drag on and become sagas. But if I could, ideally, I'd love it if we could get rid of a few. Sancho and Rashi probably give me most concern. Rashi because I think he might insist on Barcelona, and I don't think they're going to pay. They'll probably try and finesse a loan deal or something, and I don't want that. I want a permanent move. And then with Sancho, I think worst case scenario, we probably loan him out for the last year of his contract and just have part of his wages covered, like we did with Alexis Sanchez.
probably Dortmund, and
Yeah,
but yeah,
like
even
if we really can't sell him, I see that happening. I don't think there's any way that he stays. I think he's burnt all bridges.
even getting Anthony off the books is not going to be straightforward either.
Yeah, at least with him though, like give credit to him. He's actually gone on loan and increased his value. So yeah,
Mm.
but I think Betis might be trying to put something together, but I don't know if they have the finances. But
Yeah.
I'm a bit more easy on Anthony actually. I think there will actually be some interest.
Well, what would be nice if Bayer Leverkusen came in for him? That's what I'm hoping.
Definitely, especially with all that money just burning a hole in their pocket. That
Yeah,
would be ideal. Like that's one of those where, yeah, I think confidently we can try and demand 40 to 50 total for Anthony. I think he's done himself no harm on loan.
but it is Garnacho. I feel that would bring in the most money for United.
Yeah, yeah, because it's pure profit as well, isn't it? Homegrown and that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
United are looking 40 million for Rashford, but they're looking
Mm.
at least 50, I think, for Garnacho. So
Yeah.
he'll probably bring in the most money. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, but it could end up being from a Premier League club, though. So
Hmm.
are you willing to accept that?
If it's a Premier League club, I'd like a bit more.
Mm.
I think we need to start playing others at their own game. So yeah, everybody else there seems to be an English tax and whatnot and domestic rivalry and stuff. Why should we, not fall in line? If it's to a rival, a league rival, I would like a deal worth 60 to 70 million for Garnacho. If it's to like a Napoli or somewhere, then probably 45 to 50.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Mm. I would like to get good money for him because he's young, he's got a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Um,
And for all of his criticism, when you look at the numbers and what he's done, like he's up there with the brightest young stars. Like he's not a scrub. Like people don't give him enough credit. Like I just think you go one way or the other. There's either too much criticism or there's not enough praise. Like he's a decent player at the end of the day.
yeah, he's a better player at 20 than what Ronaldo was.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's just the thing where he doesn't fit what we're trying to do, and
yeah,
there's better options and better ways to invest. So
I
but
think
I don't think he's terrible.
No, he's not. I think we treat him like he's 26.
Yeah,
We forget that he's still a kid.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing. And we treat him like he's Luke Chadwick, and he's not.
Well, yeah, people who treat him as if he's crap are just
Yeah,
talking nonsense. I
yeah.
mean,
No, honestly, like the amount of criticism I do think is over the top sometimes. Yes, he's selfish and the decision making isn't great, but he still look at what he offers. Look at,
mhm. So Ericsson, Lindelof, and Evans have all departed. I think that would free up a wee bit of space on the wage bill.
Oh,
But
hell of a lot. I think what Ericsson was on 150, Lindy I think was on about 120, and Evans was about 75, 80, I think.
yeah, but when it comes to actually selling players that are under contract, we're going to have to be really patient with that. I could see,
Definitely.
I think we mentioned this already in the previous show, but some of these sales, like Rashford and Sancho, are going to drag
Hmm.
on to August.
Yeah, definitely. That's the problem. The Sancho one especially because I don't know who's going to show interest in him now. So, and if you can't drum up interest, then yeah, like I say, the blueprint's there from what happened with Alexis Sanchez, where we couldn't get rid of him, and just said, you know what, we're just gonna have part of the wages covered, and you can just go out on loan until your contract runs down.
Well, if Dortmund come in and say we'll we'll cover part of his wages, we'll pay
Yeah.
like a 5 million loan fee,
Hmm.
then that should be it then. And
Yeah,
then
basically. Because the thing is, they have no incentive to bid higher anyway, because if they can get him on loan, they know that next season they can approach the player for nothing.
yeah, and if Dortmund end up signing him permanently for nothing, and
Yeah.
whilst we covered his wages while playing for Dortmund on two separate
Hmm.
occasions, after we paid them what
Yeah.
73 million for his services,
Yeah.
it just makes us look like a complete joke. But
Yeah. Yeah. It's terrible, isn't it? Yeah.
remember the Sancho signing goes back to the Ed Woodward era,
Yeah,
and
that's the thing. That's the way I'm looking at it. Like, as much as we're going to struggle getting rid of some of these guys, we have to remember that this is all, leftover fodder from the previous regime, which was sheer incompetence.
yeah, I mean Sancho was signed under Solskjaer. That's a long time ago
Hmm.
now.
Yeah. And do you remember? Because we chased him all like the year before he actually arrived, missed out on him, and then they went and splashed the cash on Ahmad. So you're thinking, all right, you've got another right winger kid. So you've probably moved on now. But then only to go and pick up Sancho the year after. So yeah, there's just no planning. It's the same thing with the right backs as well. I remember we picked up Dallo, young right back, 20 million ish, and then the following season went and dropped 50, 55, was it, on
Yeah,
Wan-Bissaka?
yeah, that summer where we signed Sancho, we needed a DM, so we
Yeah,
brought in Ronaldo and Sancho.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's typical, isn't it? I mean, I remember that summer when we bought in Di Maria and Falcao, and I was like, well, I mean, we've got Van Persie and Rooney here as well. Like,
I
it doesn't
know
make sense.
we were very top heavy that season.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, who's gonna drop out? You can't fit all of these guys in.
Well, he tried. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
if
it's
you remember
madness.
against Leicester, he
Yeah,
played them
yeah,
all, and we ended up losing 5-3.
yeah, yeah. We were
Albeit,
3-1 up in that game as well. I'll tell you what, that was the best thing that Di Maria did. That delightful little chip. But
yeah,
that was about the only good memory we have of him.
I know we imploded, but a penalty was given against Raphael, and it was an
Yeah,
absolute disgrace of a decision. So
yeah, yeah,
that Leicester might never have won that game if
yeah.
that wasn't given. But and then Van Gaal totally changed his approach after that game.
Hmm.
We turned into the most boring team in Europe to watch.
Yeah,
Who
yeah, yeah. Because it was
I think
it was just
think
passing, pointless passing under him, pointless crossing
people
under Moyes. It was
people at the
terrible.
scoreboard end at Old Trafford went an
Yeah,
entire season without seeing a goal. I think
yeah,
uh, so. After getting off to a flyer in the transfer window, it's installed a wee bit now, but I'm not surprised by this at all. You know, clubs tend to hike up their prices once United come in,
yeah. Hmm.
and we've seen that with Mbumo, and it looks like it's happening with the Gyökeres as well.
Yeah. We have to remember it's still fairly early days. We're still only in June. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
business happens in July.
Yeah, it's still only the 13th of June, so
Yeah,
we have to be patient.
yeah,
And
just have to be patient. It's just a bit annoying, I think, when we look around, we see what one or two other people are
I
doing,
mean,
but we have to just concentrate on ourselves.
our first preseason tour game in America, we are still 5 weeks away from that. So
Yep.
we have to be patient. We are playing Leeds in Sweden, randomly
Yep.
enough, and then is when we go out to America to play Everton, Bournemouth, and West Ham, I think, in Chicago, New Jersey, and Atlanta. No, Atlanta, what I'm talking about. Atlanta, I'm so
Yeah.
used to saying Atlanta, when talking about the Champions League. So I'm getting a bit impatient myself. I, I just want to see this Mombemo getting done and over the line. I
Yeah.
suppose it's kind of like we've no games to look forward to, so
Hmm.
we're relying on bringing in players for entertainment. And whenever we've only signed one player so far, and that's happened in stages. Still no fee agreed from Mbumo, and that's been ongoing now for well over a week. So it's just probably just bored more than anything, to be honest. And the seals, there's no movement on the seals, so
Yeah.
just getting just a wee bit tetchy at the moment.
Yeah, that's what it is. Hopefully it will pick up. I'm not too worried about the Mbeumo one, if I'm being honest. I think he's made his intention clear that he would like to come to us. The only thing that could potentially prove a snag is, if Tottenham outbid us, then fair enough. I'm not too fussed. I don't want us to get into a bidding war and overpay because we've done that before in the past. And also, when these players arrive and then don't justify the inflated price tag, people complain.
Yeah, just walk away and go for
Yeah,
alternative target. Um,
exactly.
because we
And
have
there's
to,
many areas in the squad that need fixing. So,
yeah,
um,
y- yeah, we have to
sometimes you have to play the market. You have to just see what's available.
a message out there firmly that this is no longer Ed Woodward's club.
Absolutely.
We will not be walked over. We are not
Yeah.
going to be anyone's bank. We
Yeah.
are going to pay what we think the player is worth. And if
Hmm.
you want more than that, we're willing to walk away. We need to get that message out there firmly
Definitely.
because I feel as if clubs this summer are still treating us as if we're Man United from Ed Woodward 4 years ago. They're still treating us
It's
that
also,
way.
I think, because they know that we're going to be active in the market and that when we need incomings,
Yeah.
and they know that we have a need to sell. So yeah, it's one of
Mhm.
those. I can't blame them. Like, I'll be doing the same thing.
Yeah, but we have to sell as we buy because you can't make
Yeah,
all your purchases and in August you're trying to sell everybody off and clubs know you're desperate to sell. You can't be doing that.
exactly. Yeah, it's got to work in tandem. Otherwise, you're going to set yourself up for failure. We might then end up in a Chelsea type situation where they had like 50 odd players on their books and not
Mm.
enough lockers.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah, we don't want that. We
So
can't just restrict access to like the equipment and just tell the rest of them, all right, you lot just go make yourselves busy. Another thing I'd like to see as well, Carl, I see a lot of these big clubs now, operating with feeder clubs and stuff. And I know it's something we used to do back in the day, especially with like Royal Antwerp in Belgium and that. But it would be very smart if over the next year or two we were to establish links with, say, like a French and a Spanish team.
yeah, another strategy from United this
Mm,
in this window is deliberately going after Premier League players. Um,
yeah.
because I read a statistic that since 2014, only 8% of United signings have been from within the Premier League, and that's nowhere near enough. And we
To be
can't.
honest, even the ones that we bought from the Premier League have been abject failures. Morgan Schneiderlin comes to mind. Luke Shaw.
You're dragging up bad memories now. But
Yeah, yeah, we just can't get it right, no matter where we shop.
do you
So,
remember
they just,
uh, Schweinsteiger and Schneiderlin were known as Schmidfield by some
yeah,
lads? It
yeah,
was so cringy that, and they were only there for a season under Van Gaal, and then
yeah.
Mourinho came in and didn't want either of them.
Yeah, I was really upset by the Schweinsteiger one. I didn't like the way Jose handled that at all.
I think he actually
Consummate.
admitted that he got that wrong.
Yeah,
That
yeah, yeah. Consummate professional he was, and even now, the way he talks about United on game day and stuff, like he always tweets, and he's a great guy. And I'll always remember that final game as well, even after the way he was treated. It was against Wigan in the cup, and I think we won 3-1 or something, and he got a goal and an assist. He just put in a brilliant performance. It was very unfortunate we didn't get to see the best of him, but yeah, definitely somebody that we should have retained with his experience. Could have helped out with the
yeah,
younger ones and in the dressing room.
yeah, he was frozen out and then he fought his way back in. Not
Yeah,
not unsimilar to what Capello did to Beckham at Real Madrid.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Beckham was completely frozen out and then played a key role in him leading them to the league title.
Yeah, and Mourinho sold Sneijderlin in January of his first season,
Hmm.
and along with Memphis Depay, he was like, "These
I'll
guys
tell
are
you
not for
what,
me."
we missed a bullet there with Schneiderlin. At least we managed to crawl the majority of the money back. Um, I think Everton ended up selling him to Nice, funny enough, for about 2 million.
Mm.
So they took a huge loss on that one.
Yeah,
Memphis Depay is another one. He failed, but he obviously foreign signing. What other domestic signings? Ericsson, I suppose, was a success-ish, but he was free in it. Maguire, Jesus. Yeah, it's probably best we don't go into who he bought from the Premier League.
yeah.
Wan
So
Bissaka.
since 2014, 92% of our signings have been
Yeah,
from abroad, and United are looking to fix that this summer because we need
yeah,
Premier League proven,
yeah.
players that have.
To a certain degree. To a certain degree. Like for me, I think if you do your scouting properly and if they're of the required standard, then it's fine. You know, like Haaland had no Premier League experience when he came in, and he just absolutely killed it.
Yeah,
And
if
he's
you're
a player that on a couple of occasions there was opportunities there before it got to that stage. You know,
if you're exceptional, then you can do it in any league. But
yeah,
there's certain players that seem to be they're caught out by the physicality of the Premier League.
hmm
Um, certainly even at the beginning, David De Gea was not ready for it.
yeah, absolutely not. But again, he was what, like 20 years old. The shirt literally didn't fit him. He was
Yeah,
so tiny when he came.
yeah, I remember Andy Carroll in particular giving him such a rough time
Yeah.
from corners and
hmm
free kicks.
I remember Ed and Dzeko as well. Just
Mm.
yeah, it was shoddy start, but yeah, then look what he turned into.
But and then yeah, certain players like Varane, he didn't suit the Premier League.
Yeah. And again, he was another one similar to Cass where anytime we played in Europe, oh, he was phenomenal.
Yeah, but we don't have European football next season.
Yeah, exactly. And he had glimpses in the Premier League, to be fair to him. It's a bit overstated how much of a failure he was. Thought he was quality, to be fair. He doesn't get the credit he deserves. But yeah, it was more on management as well why Veron didn't work out. We were just very rigid at that time.
Vorona's a bit like Nani in that when you watch the highlight reel, you're like, he's a brilliant player.
Yeah,
What were
yeah.
we complaining about? But you forget about all the bad games.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And again, it was a time where we were trying to play a bit more open and European style, but in the Premier League we couldn't do that. And you know, he needed a free role, if anything.
Yeah, yeah, he was a phenomenal talent. He ended
Mm.
up playing against United in the FIFA Club World Cup final in 2008. Uh, he was back in
Estudiantes, was it?
Estudiantes, yeah. No, maybe it wasn't United, but I think he played for Estudiantes. No, tell you what, I think it was 2009 when Barcelona won the Champions League that Estudiantes played Barcelona in
Right.
the Club World Cup. And
Yeah.
I remember him being like a
Yeah.
veteran at that point, and he
Yeah.
played
Yeah. Yeah.
against.
Because he left us, went to Chelsea. Didn't work out for him there either. But then he went back to Serie A, familiar stomping ground, and he was great for a couple of years at Inter Milan.
It's actually when we played in the Club World Cup after winning the Champions League, it was actually against an Ecuadorian team that we played. I think we won 1-0. I think Rooney scored and
Yeah,
Vidic was sent off. It was Liga del Cueto or something was the Ecuadorian team. It was very
yeah, I don't even
unusual.
remember
It
the
was
name
very
of the teammate.
it's very
The one thing I
unusual.
do remember from that is I remember we lost that Super Cup thing to St. Petersburg.
Yeah, yeah. We made a mess of that.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, we should not have been losing that. But I think we lost the Super Cup to Lazio in 1999 as well.
we
We
did.
we,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
don't have a good record of winning that.
No, no.
Also, we won when we won the Europa League in 2017. We played Madrid in the
Yeah,
Super Cup and we lost that one too. I think Lukaku
yeah.
did get a consolation in the game, but we lost 2-1. I think. Yeah. So we never
There's
win that.
another one from that 8% Kyle, bought from the Premier League.
Who is it?
Lukaku.
Uh, but like I'll say what I've said on previous shows recently. He would walk into our team right now.
He absolutely would. But again, that just shows what a mess we are, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, with that one, I just felt that's one where everyone kind of gave up too soon. When you're spending 75 million on a player, you don't think they're going to be out the door in 2 years' time. And to be fair to him, the first year was pretty good.
Yeah, it was he must have scored 20 odd goals in that
Yeah.
season. Yeah.
It was the second one where, yeah, it was shoddy, but then,
The problem with his second season is that Mourinho was sacked and Solskjaer came in
mhm.
and wasn't really keen on him. Didn't really fit into what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was only a substitute under Solskjaer really, and then he left that summer. Because Solskjaer wanted to play Rashford and Martial and Daniel James as a
hmm
pacey, dynamic front three, and all
Daniel
shifting around.
James. That was
Yeah,
another kid, man. I mean, pace for days, but again, he wasn't of the required standard.
yeah, but yeah.
Shockingly made a profit on him.
Although Lukaku did end up scoring 2 goals against PSG in that famous game
hmm
under Solskjaer, in which we put them out of the Champions League. Um, Unfortunately, that only got us to the quarters, in which we were
Yeah.
dismantled by Barcelona. I
Yeah.
say Barcelona, I mean Lionel Messi.
Well, yeah.
Again. Um, yeah, but yeah, I think United's victory against PSG in 2019 is over celebrated massively.
Oh, it is. It was just, yeah. It was just because we had gone through years of not doing anything, and then it was
But
just a moment.
do you know why people celebrate so much? One of the reasons why. Well, because we lost 3-1 at Old Trafford in the first leg and
Yeah.
somehow managed to
Yeah,
was it,
yeah. It was because it was against all the odds. It
no,
didn't make sense.
sorry, we
And
lost 2-0 at Old Trafford in the
yeah,
first leg,
yeah. It's
and then
because it
we
was
won.
against the odds, wasn't it? I mean, I'll tell you what. In Europe, mate, the game against Lyon this season was probably the closest I've had to that feeling against PSG,
Yeah,
where you're just elated and your heart rate doesn't go back to
yeah,
normal for an hour or two.
yeah, it was crazy, but in the end
Yeah.
that meant nothing either because we didn't win the
Well,
tournament.
yeah, because we
Uh,
didn't get over the line. So yeah,
But
yeah.
here's the thing, and this is a damning statistic. Since United beat Olympiacos in the knockout stages under David Moyes when Van Persie scored the hat-trick in 2014, that PSG win in 2019 is the only knockout tie in which we have won in the Champions League.
I'll tell you what's more shocking. In the last decade, I think we've been in the Europa League more than the Champions League.
Yeah, there's been a few occasions where we have originally qualified for the Champions League and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
finished third in the group and ended up in the Europa League.
Yeah, but
That
yeah, we've got more of a history in the Europa in the last decade.
and we've been three finals and only won one of them, which is not good enough.
Yep, definitely.
Losing to Tottenham in a final by any club is not acceptable. You know,
Yeah,
and what's
especially in the
funny?
manner in which we lost as well. It was just, it was
Oh,
such a Spursy win. It was just, that goal, just
well,
nonsense.
it was two very poor teams, and
Yeah,
it was a goal befitting of the game on those teams. That
definitely. But unfortunately for us, it's not. something that's uncommon. We've stung cup finals before. It reminded me of the FA Cup final under Jose when we played Chelsea and lost
Oh,
1-0. That game was so dead. The Hazard penalty.
yeah, when Bill Jones brought him down.
Yeah, yeah, it was one of them. Uh, the first final back at New Wembley, that was against Chelsea as well. That was a dead final. I was actually quite looking forward to the relief of penalties, but then Drogba ended any hopes of that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Mm. That's 18 years ago now. Mm.
Mm.
But yeah, you
And
win your
Cunha was 8.
he may even have been, yeah, he would have been it, yeah.
Yeah, he would have been 8.
Mm. And yeah, you win in terms of finals. We've lost quite a few. We won a few as well. You know, we beat
Yeah.
Palace with 10 men in
Hmm.
2016 in the FA Cup final, and then miraculously beat Manchester City against all the odds in last year in the FA Cup
Yeah,
final.
yeah. Yeah, it's this funny old game, isn't it?
But I hate losing finals. You know, you'd rather lose in the quarters or something than lose a final. It's so hard to take when you lose a final.
Yeah, that's the thing. I used to say this back in the day. I used to think, you know what, it's better not to get to a final than get to a final and lose.
Yeah,
But then now I think I've kind of changed where now I think, well, in order to win, you have to be there, don't you? So, it's a numbers
yeah, you
game.
know,
So you have to get to a final in order to have a chance. And anything can happen in a final. So,
yeah. You also have to turn up as well, which is pretty important.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
And
but
also for the business folks now, like money wise as well, obviously, it's lucrative to get to a final. Even better to win it, of course.
on Tottenham once again, sack a manager who won them a trophy. Um,
I'm actually with him on that one. I actually think they made a shrewd decision. I think for the long term, I think Thomas Frank is a good appointment.
let's
Obviously, on
see.
paper, it looks ridiculous, doesn't it, when you just sack a manager, especially when you've gone as long as they have without a trophy. But yeah, I think it makes sense. There's no way they could have continued with that high line nonsense again.
Tell you what, whenever it was on a Friday when it was announced, and the phone-in shows were full of
Yeah,
angry Spurs fans that
yeah.
Ange was being sacked. Weren't happy with that at all. I suppose they've got an emotional attachment to him now because he
Hmm.
won the trophy. Um,
Yeah, it's the
it is
biggest trophy they've won since the last time they won it, I think, which was in the
yeah.
80s. So yeah,
It is
I don't
weird
blame them.
though that
Yeah.
Redknapp and Pochettino are seen as successes at Tottenham
Hmm.
and didn't win anything, whereas
Yeah.
one day Ramos and Postecoglou actually won things and
Got
are
the
not.
sack. Yeah, yeah.
And
After winning, yeah.
yeah, and the most Spurs thing ever is sacking Mourinho a few days before a final in which they
Before a
lost.
final, yeah. Someone who's, a specialist in finals and that and getting over the line, who's a serial winner. It made no sense
Although,
whatsoever.
although I did hear secondhand from a Spurs supporter that one of the reasons that Mourinho was sacked prior to that League Cup final, which they lost to Chelsea in 2021, I think it was that if Mourinho had won the trophy, he would have been due a massive bonus. So isn't that the most Daniel Levy thing ever?
That is, yeah, that's typical of Daniel Levy. That if that played a factor, imagine. Like if you had won a trophy with that club, would you even care that you had to pay out a bonus?
You know, it shows what's important to Tottenham.
Exactly. Yeah, they're run as a business, aren't they? So that's the thing.
Mhm. And you sack Mourinho and you put Ryan Mason in charge of a final,
Hmm.
who's no experience,
Insane.
you know,
Yeah.
and they lost. You know, I know it wasn't going well in the league under Mourinho,
Yeah.
but they should have kept him there for a final. But yeah, apparent,
Definitely for the cup final. It's
apparently it
insane.
was a financial decision, which is a disgrace. What, like, if you don't want him to win finals, what is he doing there? Why is he
Exactly.
there?
Yeah. And then, they replaced him with Conte and you saw what happened there as well. He had a breakdown, left and then continued winning stuff elsewhere.
He he's a serial winner and just did not belong
Yeah.
at Tottenham at all. Eh,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It always reminds me that interview he gave where he just exploded and just
Mm,
started questioning the players he had.
yeah, it was just before, it was the last game before an international break, and needless
Yeah,
to say, he didn't take charge of the next game after the
yeah,
international break.
yeah. I
So,
didn't think he would, to be fair, when he
mm.
was like, the players, where are the players?
But that was him getting himself out of there. That was that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And he was proved right because listen, he's gone and done a fantastic job because Napoli finished 10th, I think, the season before. They just won the league.
Mm. Although they did win the league the season before that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's quite mad, isn't it?
Did
Going from champions to 10th place to champions again.
did McTominay get Serie A Player of the Year?
He did, yeah, yeah. He was the league MVP.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah. And Scotty's so good that De Bruyne decided to go join him.
What's his star-studded midfield now? Billy Gilmore, McTominay, and De Bruyne.
Yep, yep.
Mm, yeah. Uh, so it's been a slow news week for United. Hopefully, the next time we're on, there's a wee bit more, you know, transfer news. You know, not obviously there's always going to be rumors to discuss, but I would like to do something to actually happen to talk about and
Definitely. Hopefully we're announcing Embuemo and then there's a bit of action and hopefully some news on outgoings. That's the main concern for me. I need
that,
to see a sell.
that's going to be tough. It really is going to be
Yeah.
tough.
Hmm.
The wages and everything else play are going to make that so difficult to get those
Yeah. It
four
would just
players
be
out.
so nice though, even if one of those guys that were are difficult to shift on paper were to go early. It would give us a bit of hope.
I mean, and Ten Hag bought a lot of rubbish. He owes us one
Yeah.
here. He
He
needs to
does.
bring,
He does. He already let me down by signing Flecken. He should have
yeah,
come and got Onana.
I know. Yeah, we just cannot afford another season with Onana because
Definitely.
no attack can outscore their own goalkeeper. You
Yeah,
know,
that's the thing, isn't it? Just yeah, a mistake can come at any moment, and it just undermines everything you're doing. So yeah, liability. Even
because
it doesn't even have to be a top goalkeeper. Just any half decent, experienced shop
yeah,
stopper, please.
funny enough, you mentioned Nice there earlier in the show, who of course are uh, owned by Ineos as well.
Yeah,
We've been linked with their Polish international goalkeeper.
yeah.
He's another name
Ma
that's been linked,
Marcin Bolka. Yeah, I think he was a youth player at Chelsea many years ago.
and
Um,
PSG.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's like 25 now and experienced. And I don't think there's a conflict of interest now either, because obviously, no, we're not both in Europe or anything. So yeah, potentially that's a deal that can happen.
Yeah, and did Barcelona have signed a keeper from Espanyol? Does that mean
Yeah,
that Ter Stegen could be available?
potentially, potentially. I think I heard him say that he doesn't want to leave, but they've got Chesney as well and the new goalkeeper arriving. So yeah, there could be an opportunity there. Perhaps there's a deal to be struck with the Rashford one that involves Ter
Yeah,
Stegen.
yeah.
Apparently he's declined quite a lot as well, but honestly, can he be any worse than Anana?
Pretty much anyone is an upgrade on Ronaldo. That's the good thing for United.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? So that's the thing. Like, I don't even mind if it's a stopgap keeper that comes in. We just need to move on from this guy. Like, how many keepers did it take for us to get from Schmeichel to Van der Sar, huh?
Yeah, and it's not as if we're trying to replace Van der Sar here.
Yeah,
The bar is pretty low. So
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And you need to try different things. You can't just keep doing the same thing and expecting different results.
if you signed any of the 19 number one keepers in the Premier League, they'd probably
Yeah.
be better than Onana. So
Hmm.
it's not hard for United to get a better goalkeeper here. You know,
Hmm.
uh, yeah. I mean, it was only 3 or 4 years ago we had De Gea and Henderson. Now we have Bayendier and Onana. How has
Yeah.
it come to
To,
this?
to think at a time we were so stacked that we had Victor Valdez on the bench. World Cup
Yeah,
winning, Champions League winning, Euro winning, Victor
yeah.
Valdez.
And Romero was there as
Yeah,
well, and
Sergio
De Gea's there.
Romero as well. Very good. See, all of our second keepers back then would be first choice now. A shoe in, absolute shoe in.
Yeah. Is Romero still playing? I'd have him now. You know,
He probably is still playing. He's probably back in Argentina now, I reckon.
is he playing for, as Americans would say, Boca Juniors?
I think he was. There's a big United contingent at Boca actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Rojo, Cavani, Ander
Herrera.
Herrera as well.
Mm. And yeah, I do think that he's playing in the Argentinian league as well. Romero, he's probably
Yeah.
38 now, I would say, but still probably better than
He's
Onana.
yep. You're bang on. He's 38 now. 38. Let's see where he's at. And yep, yeah, he's at Boca. He's
Yeah.
Boca's first team goalkeeper. Yeah,
So that's four United players
yeah
at
four ex United players at Boca.
yeah. So yeah, I think if we can get three attackers, we get a goalkeeper, then
Hmm.
hopefully we have money left to look at a midfielder then
Yeah,
or a right wing back something. But uh yeah, we're not going to be able to do everything in this window, that's for
yeah,
sure.
we can't do everything unfortunately, but that's the two main things, isn't it? I think if we were to go in a particular order, striker's important, and then a goalkeeper. Those are the two urgent ones for this summer that can't wait.
Definitely. So I will shall see you again then, Brush. Thanks
Yeah,
everybody
definitely.
for listening, and please smash a like in the video, subscribe to the podcast, and get some of your thoughts in on United's transfer activity. And I will be back again next week. I'll see you later, Brush.
Take care.